Hi students, we're back. So previously, we worked on literal equations that only had one step to isolate the variable. But sometimes we have multiple step problems. So here we have some helpful hints. It says think backwards from PEMDAS. PEMDAS, as we know, is our order of operations. And we know usually the last thing we do is add and subtract. But when we are solving, the first thing we normally do is going to be to add and subtract, if possible. So we're going to think backwards on the order of operations. We're going to remove fractions by multiplying by the reciprocal, and we know what the reciprocal is. And the last step is usually to divide by whatever is next to your variable. We say usually because it depends on the problem. So let's look at number 9. A equals 1/2 BH. That's area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. But instead of finding area, they want us to be able to find the height. All right, so we have a couple things we can do. The first thing is I want to deal with this fraction of 1/2. So I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of 2/1. Of course, 2/1 can just be written as 2. If I do it to the right side of the equal sign, I have to do it to the left side. So that gives me 2a equals, here the 1/2 and the 2 cancel, BH. I'm almost there. I've almost got the h by itself, but I have a second step I have to do, which is going to be divide both sides by b, because this is being multiplied right now, so I need to divide it. So 2a over b equals h. And again, we could rewrite that for h equals 2a over b. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and do that since that's what we're used to doing. And we have solved this for h. The h is all by itself. For number 10, volume equals 1/3 base times height, and it wants us to solve for capital B. So again, I have a 1/3. I want to get rid of that fraction. I don't care for fractions. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3, or you could look at it as 3/1. 3's cancel, 1's cancel. On the right side, I'm just left with b times h. On the left side, I'm left with 3v. Remember, I'm trying to solve for b this time. B is in boy. So I need to divide both sides by this h to get rid of that h, which leaves me b equals 3v over h. All right, number 11 is an interesting problem because it has a square in it. And we are trying to solve for this m right here. So let's see what's happening to the m. First, it's being divided by 2, then it's being multiplied and multiplied by something that's squared. So I want to take care of this fraction first. So I'm going to multiply both sides by the inverse of that denominator, which means I'm left with mv squared on one side and 2k on the other, because those 2's have canceled. And again, I'm solving for m, so that v squared is not going to be a problem at all. It's being multiplied, so we're just going to divide. The inverse operation is division. And I'm left with m equals 2k over v squared. And I made a mistake. Did you see my mistake? That k is capital, and I wrote it as if it was lowercase. So I fixed it. All right. Let's pick another problem to work on. How about we work on number 14? Number 14. Number 14 wants us to solve for y. Okay, so I have ax plus by equals c. Now, if this was something like 5 plus 3y equals 9, right? That would be a little more obvious that we should subtract the 5 from both sides. Okay, so sometimes if I'm having trouble deciding where to start, I'll substitute some of those variables for constant numbers just to help me understand what's happening. So when I look at it that way, I can see pretty quickly, oh yeah, I need to subtract this ax term from both sides. That leaves me by, because this makes 0, that's what I wanted, equals c minus ax. And if I'm solving for y, now I can see I have b times y, the inverse of multiplication is division. So that gives me y equals c minus ax over b. And if you find that you get confused as you go along what you're solving for, you can always use a method to highlight what you're solving for in each step if it helps you. You don't have to, but I find that it helps some people. Let's do one more on this page that might be slightly different from some of the other problems. Let's take a look at number 18. Number 18. Okay, so you notice on number 18, I've got some parentheses going on. There's a lot happening here. But if we take it one step at a time, I see I have 1/2 h, so I have a fraction. So most of the time, it makes most people feel better to deal with that fraction first. So the inverse of 1/2 is 2 over 1, or just 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. That'll get rid of the fraction. So I have 2a equals h, and then I have b1 plus b2, and we say b sub 1 plus b sub 2. All right. Then I'm still trying to solve for b1. So what's the next thing that's happening here? Well, I see multiplication. And normally we would say distribute, but we're working backwards, right? So I see h times what's in the parentheses. So the inverse of multiplication is division. So I'll divide both sides by this h. That leaves me 2a over h equals b sub 1 plus b sub 2. And now that nothing else is happening on that side as far as multiplication, I can drop the parentheses. I don't need them anymore. Then, since I'm solving for b1, I'll simply subtract b2 from both sides. So this makes 0. So I have b sub 1 equals 2a over h minus b sub 2. All right, I will see you all in the next video, or even better, I have a hint for you. In today's virtual lesson, in the Bitmoji classroom, I have hidden a secret link to something fun, just a little fun brain break. So if you have hung with me through the video this long, go click on Garfunkel Caligula the cat and enjoy that before you go to the next step. Bye for now.